in general, I am good even if we make a mistake, if it's in terms of going all in to chase history. Because that's what I want to do.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Yeah, that's right, folks. The show is called Amateur Hour. I'm Ryan Scott All, and joining me today, my friend, my colleague, a true original, one Dirk to rule them all, is Dirkness.
Who wants to sup, Mutombo?
Thank you for sporting the Dikembe Mutombo jersey today, and apparently his signature line when he enters the club.
I'm the same way. I say the same thing. We'll be honest.
You say, "Who wants to sup Mutombo?" That's your line.
And if there's any Amateur Hour fans, any ladies that love Amateur Hour, it works every time. Unfortunately, there's never been one time.
Yeah. Well, Dirk, I called you a true original, the one Dirk to rule them all, because I noticed that there's a Chiefs Dirk out here in these Twitter streets. I saw you confront the comment, and it just cracked me up. I think you're just like, what the fuck? Excuse me.
I told him he was ruining my brand. What the hell is that? And he was calling for Andy's firing. Wasn't that it?
That might be right. Yeah.
We gotta all get together and report this guy. We can't have this guy soiling my name out here on the streets. There's only one Chiefs Dirk.
I can't believe there's a at Chiefs Dirk out there. I said, man, this guy, if he only knew whose corner he was trying to stand on.
I wish it was like a parody account or something. Give me something. Just the guy out here calling for Andy's firing. It's very anti-Dirk. He's being very un-Dirk.
Yeah, it is very un-Dirk. That's correct. Well, buddy, it was Mahomes' 100th game. I don't know if that's regular season or postseason or combined, whatever. His 100th game, it was Veach's 200th win. I don't know, figure out the math on that. You and the fellows were front row for the game on Sunday, so maybe just kind of walk us through this SoFi experience on what was, on paper, a really monumental day for Patrick Mahomes and Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, first off, just let me say, everybody loves a guy in a big giant hat. Out at the game, out at the tailgate, people could not get enough of it. Every 5 seconds, rocking the big hat, people are like, oh my God, that's a big hat.
Isn't that what it's called? Just bighats.com?
Yeah. The brand is Noggin, but yeah, it's basically just big hat. You're back. Every time I saw 5 other Chiefs fans throughout the day all rocking them, and it was just instant, yeah, what's up?
It's amazing. Honestly, you look like Mario. It is giving Mario Brothers big time. I wish you had some gloves too to go along with it. Maybe just some dishwashing gloves would fit.
Oh, there we go. We're getting there.
So what is it? Is it heavy? Or
it is heavy.
Spacer that's in there.
It is heavy. It also had this foam insert, which it got so fucking hot. So we were kind of trading it around. Also because we were struggling and trying to turn things around. I was like, all right, the big hat's not working out too well after a quarter and a half of an anemic offense, Mahomes looking terrible, and everything else going wrong.
Did you make a big rally gap? Would you flip it and get the foam in there, wear it inside out? Yeah.
Yeah, I like to rock it backwards too. The old bastards. It works. And
backwards is Toad now. Now you're Toadstool. Oh man, that's funny.
I hope the podcast audience is enjoying this as much as the YouTube.
Hey, just go to YouTube, guys. I mean, it's fantastic. It's really good experience. Let me ask you this: that thing, do you remember when it first happened? Right, it was
the dude on the Washington.
Yeah. So this dude that was playing for Washington football team, I think he was it was Brian Robinson. It's Brian Robinson. I didn't know. I thought it was a practice squad type of guy in the preseason, and he caught someone's eye wearing the hat, and he's like, yeah, my guy, runs it, and now that dude made $1 million.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm sure that he single-handedly put that business on the map, and that's great.
And people were so jealous of it that he actually got robbed at gunpoint and shot because they tried to take his big hat. That's
I didn't know that was. I didn't know
the reason. That was the reason. They didn't even take his jewelry; they just took the hat.
Hey, that's a collector's item, man.
Besides that hat, I gotta have that. But yeah, good time at the stadium. I had all my boys in town. Shout out to Rob and Nate and Dave coming in from KC. I had my bro and his wife. We had her Dirkness. We even had backdoor Kiki in the house. It was a full get down inside SoFi. But yeah, started out the day tailgating. Anybody who's never been there, probably most of you, they have like a fun. So it's nothing like Chiefs tailgating where the whole parking lot's doing it. They restricted to all one parking lot, like one little section, which makes it fun because then all the tailgating is in one spot and it feels like a lot of people are doing it. They got a little Thunder Alley, so you just kind of walk down that, and people are giving out beers for donations and shots and playing games and razzing each other. It's a fun time in the tailgate.
I heard that they wanted to call it Thunder Road, but because Garth Brooks is a Chiefs fan, he said no. Thunder Alley. Have fun with that, folks.
Is that
I don't even know. I don't know. It might be. He's the only country singer that I really know, so it may not. I'm not sure.
It wasn't even Garth Brooks. We just named Garth.
I'm just gonna name drop Garth Brooks. He likes Kansas City.
Generic country singer did not allow it. Yeah. Eventually ended up at the Chiefs in LA tailgate. They got a big foundation out here. That was a lot of fun. Free food, which most people are donating and stuff, but big meats and stuff. So got some food in us, but getting drinks, no problem at all. Show up with nothing. We got 8 of us all looking to drink, and it was no problem. We all get drunk for less than $20, I would say. So just good vibes out there all around from both Chargers and Chiefs fans. Just a real get down. Sat up top, upper deck out there. The weird thing about the upper deck there is so there's an entire upper deck that's like higher than the upper deck in Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah.
So it takes some getting used to because you went there back in 2022 or 21 probably 21 I think. But yeah, sitting up top, it can be high up there. So it's kind of tough, but we sat in the lower part up there, so it's not bad. Seats were expensive. A lot of Chiefs fans out here. A lot of LA people, I think, are just Chiefs fans now because of Taylor Swift. Seems like a lot of Taylor Swift stuff going on. Taylor Swift not in the house, was she?
I don't recall them showing her, like, making any kind of big deal out of it, which I also thought was kind of odd. Like, maybe I just wasn't watching the broadcast that closely, but I don't remember seeing any kind of celebrity presence. And I remembered being at SoFi, and it was like every time that they're on TV timeout in the stadium, they're showing you, hey, check out the random person on that ABC show. Like it's like they constantly had in-stadium entertainment going on whenever the game was at commercial, instead of just like, hey, donate to this thing like Arrowhead typically does.
Definitely. They need that. They also have like a narrator who's kind of telling you what's going on at the game because half the people probably aren't paying attention. But yeah, they did like a celebrities in attendance thing, and we all kind of got excited. Like, all right, let's see. Mahomes here, Travis Kelce, maybe T Swift. What's going on with LA? What do we got here? And it was one WNBA player that I've never heard of. And I know people like to pretend they're into the WNBA now, but it was very, very underwhelming. It was just like, her? That's it? That's all I got? So I was like, next.
I guarantee that my wife and daughter know exactly who it is.
It was Paige Weckers.
Paige Buchers.
Buchers.
Yeah.
Yackers.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was there.
She's not even in the WNBA yet. She still plays at UConn. Really?
Well, yeah. It felt huge being in the building with her there. Let me just tell you, it was a very LA experience. But yeah, no, we had a great time getting down up there, getting rowdy. We had a Bills fan in the section. I had to set him straight at one point. He was getting a little mouthy. Bills fans are usually cool, but he was getting a little mouthy over there. Had to set him straight. Yeah, let him know. It's September, so we talk a shit now.
You're like, listen, all right, Billy Pesto and I go way back. All right, so why don't you relax, fella? And he's not your neighbor anymore. Do you guys still talk? Like we don't have the across the street rivalry with Billy Pesto any longer.
Yep, we evolved, but we still hang out. We still see each other. We still rap about him. I was telling him all offseason, or maybe not all offseason, but in the preseason, like, I think the Bills are going to be good this year. And he was like, 9 wins, maybe 10 wins top. And I was like, I think the Bills are the second best team in the AFC. So now we're fighting reverse style because you got to think, I called him like a 2013 Chiefs fan because he's not like a Chiefs fan who's experienced winning. He's a Chiefs fan that all he's seen the Bills do is blow it. So he's just very pessimistic like that. But yeah.
Can I ask like a very specific in-stadium question, and then we can maybe talk some real football?
Let's do it.
So late in the game, and I don't know if this was, I'm sure it was intentional, but it really sounded like from the broadcast that while the Chiefs offense was in the huddle, the stadium had like really loud music, trying to probably pump up the crowd or something going on. And I want to say, isn't there's like maybe a rule where you have to cut it off at like 15 seconds or something? Or is that just the headsets that cut off at 15 seconds?
No,
I don't know what it is, but it went from extreme noise over the TV speakers to, all right, the Chiefs break the huddle and then the music's gone. And I'm like, well, this seems weird. That's manufactured crowd noise essentially, right?
Yes, I would say that's accurate because you hear like, when the Chiefs are on offense, you hear like it get loud, but you don't see like a single person yelling and cheering or anything. It's just like, I don't know where this is coming from. Nobody's cheering. I would say it's probably like 60-40 Chiefs fans would be my guess. Chiefs fans not really yelling when the Chargers are on the ball either. It was just kind of it was a good little mix.
It's just California. Everybody's just relaxed and kicked back, and hey, they're having a great time here at the football game. They'll need to yell about anything at all. Why don't you just chill, man? Just watch the game.
Yeah, they actually showed a decibel level reading at one point, and it was lower than Patrick Mahomes' ADOT. It was lower than his ADOT.
You're gonna say, did it get into triple digits? I doubt it. And if it was lower than his ADOT, then it was
barely got double digits. Barely.
You could hear him making the calls at the line.
One weird thing. Last thing. It was weird that like the Chiefs get all the calls. That kind of mantra, the calling card. I just kind of figured that was like a Twitter thing. But it spread over into a real life thing. Like I didn't think it would be a real life thing, but walking through the tailgates, lots of ref things, lots of signs, lots of comments being hurled at us. It's very much a real life thing as well as a Twitter thing.
Do you think it's that real life, or it's? I mean, maybe it's not even fair because I want to joke about how they don't have fans and it was a road environment. Maybe that's why they had so many false starts. It's probably guys that aren't used to playing because they had both their tackles out. But at any rate, like, do you think that it's a division rival thing? Like if you weren't at the stadium of a divisional opponent, again, it is the Chargers, not a huge fan base, but
I think it's
I don't know. I think that might be amplified a little bit. Like they play us twice a year. It was also apparently the Chiefs' 11th straight road win against the Chargers, which has now come across like probably 4 different stadiums. Like doesn't matter where we play. If we come to LA, we're going to beat you.
So the first dudes I see is 2 dudes walking in Ryan Leaf jerseys. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty awesome. I'm like, like it's first stroll through. I'm like, hey, Ryan Leaf, this is awesome. And he tells me, man, I got this perfect cheer where I'm going to do the Arrowhead chop towards the exit for the Chiefs fans after we win. But I've been going to these games for 7 years now, and I haven't been able to do it yet. It's like, today is the day. It's well, this poor guy's been wanting this one moment where he does the Arrowhead chop towards the exit. And I get it. I was like, yeah, it's not bad. I get it. That sounds fun. I would do that if we win, if we beat Chiefs. And, poor guy hasn't been able to do it yet. And he's rocking a Ryan Leaf jersey. It's tough times out here.
Have you ever have you stashed any jokes for 7 years? I mean, most of the jokes for you are like plays on guys' names. 7 years is a long time to have somebody still on your team. I'm just, man, that poor guy. Being a Chargers fan sounds terrible. I may have switched up if I were a Chargers fan. I may have.
They live in LA. They got other things to do. There's other things going on.
It's really nice out there.
I just go outside and enjoy the day.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we will talk about this actual football game between the Chiefs and Chargers.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone in any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts with you. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/AHPKC. That's mintmobile.com/AHPKC. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/AHPKC. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Guys, I just want to give a shout out to one of our partners this year, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Kansas City. They do such awesome work here in town, and I just want to let you guys know, as fans of Amateur Hour, as fans of KC Sports Network, if you're looking for a way to give back in Kansas City, if you want to try to make an impact in your community, Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Kansas City, they need sponsors for their sports teams and leagues. They have stuff going on year-round, and you can help local kids while promoting your business throughout the metro, so it's a big win-win. Just shoot an email to giving@helpkckids.org, and they can get you all the information that you need, making a big impact here in town by sponsoring a sports team or league with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Kansas City.
Or if you want to be more involved, if you find yourself coaching from the couch during the games, you should consider coaching from the sidelines as a volunteer with the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Kansas City. Learn more at helpkckids.org.
Well, Dirk, I felt like the beginning of this game was basically like the opposite of what you want. I mean, like, and almost very literally the opposite of what you want to see. The Chiefs usually either they win the toss very often, but sometimes even if they lose the toss, the team that they play against says, we want the ball first. And we're like, great, cool, we want the ball in the second half. But the Chiefs have to start the game with the ball. So there's one thing not going their way. And then, hey, they get a long one to Travis Kelce. He gained like 38 yards on that one. He looked a little slow. That's okay, though. But then the very next play, Carson Steele gets his second fumble in like his first 25 or 30 carries. And
really weird, nonchalant fumble. It just like, you can't really see it like in the broadcast angle. Like all of a sudden it's out and the Chargers have the ball and the refs immediately pointing the other way.
And he looked on the sideline to me, and I mean, body language doctor is not actually my job, but he looked more like a guy that was like, kind of deer in the headlights, like didn't really know how to feel emotionally about it, rather than somebody that was like, get me back out there. I can't wait to handle this. It was almost like he was, asking himself like, man, what, 2? Like, come on, bud.
The weird thing is that they went back to him like the next 2 drives. He played the entirety of the next 2 drives, and then I don't think we saw him a single other time the rest of the day.
He was not very involved for basically, the second, third, and fourth quarters. I mean, at any rate, the Chargers go on one of their 2 scoring drives, this one for 74 yards. Because the Chiefs kind of, hey, at least they flipped the field before Carson Steele fumbled on the opening drive. So the Chargers drive 74 yards. They get their touchdown. On the ensuing drive, it's, what Pat has been doing this year, unfortunately, throwing these ugly interceptions. And then in what was an amazing play being made by Rashee Rice to come in and strip or punch the ball out so that the Chiefs even have the opportunity to like recover their own interception that has basically been returned back to the line of scrimmage at this point. But Pat goes in to make the tackle and you deal with some friendly fire. And I mean, gosh, we're still sitting here 2 days later and we don't know what's going on with Rashee's knee. But in the moment, after the Rashee Rice injury and seeing him, I don't know like what you guys could see in the stadium, but the broadcast is showing him trying to stand at the bench and like not being able to do it. I mean, he's holding on to the bench, trying to stand up. He's trying to, put weight on that leg and he just everything. He just keeps shaking his head. He obviously very upset. And I'm sitting here like, I think the only thing that I could tweet, because I'm like in a standstill, was how do you even start the next series? Like now you don't have the focal point of your passing game and you've already lost your starting running back. Like, what do you do? Like, is the next series like we're going to turn around and hand it off to Kareem Hunt? I mean, because like where are we at? The guy that was the second starting running back has fumbled today. Like, I just, I don't, and I guess I think the first play that they had after that was a pass to Kelsey. No, actually, it looks like it was a handoff to Carson Steele. But I mean, they went 3 and out on the next possession. I mean, I just, they were kind of shell shocked, I would imagine, at that point. I mean, they lost 2 yards on that 3 and out. Then they went 3 and out again. And then they somehow had a 9-play drive that only went 15 yards and punted again. I mean, it was bleak, man. Like, and I don't, do you want to talk about the game or do you want to talk about Rashee Rice? Because I mean, that's kind of like, we couldn't even get out of the first quarter without that happening. And I think most people spent the rest of the game trying to pay attention, but probably thinking about Rashee Rice.
I mean, it was definitely a black cloud hanging over everything. I mean, you could argue he's been the best player on the team this year. I think you either say he or Chris Jones on the entire team. But man, we've spent time in every show this season talking about how much better Rashee Rice has been, or at least I have been. Looks like a different player this year. That Atlanta game just feeding them like crazy. And it's just like, okay, this is definitively the number one receiving option for the team now. And it's just, man, it's a killer when you get the cluster of injuries. So you get the wide receiver 1 and the wide receiver 2. Now what you're thinking at this point out for the season. It's really weird that we don't know for sure. And now we get Nick Wright kind of coming on today and saying a little birdie told him, when we know Brett Beach is in his ear, a little birdie told him that they don't think it's a torn ACL, but they don't know what it is yet. And I can't really think of another time where it took this long to figure it out. It's always, I was breaking it down for people. I was like, you're going to see the tweets that say fears of tonight. We got those exact tweets. And then you're going to see it like on Monday morning to Monday afternoon, assuming, the MRI results come back and it's torn ACL. And we didn't get that. And so that's weird. So I don't know where we stand now, but man, with Rashee out, you're looking at, now your wide receiver 1 is Xavier Worthy, who is 160 pounds. So if he now becomes the focal point of your receiving game, I mean, you have to worry about how much volume he can handle at that size. Is he now going to last the entire season? And what if he goes down, you're even more screwed. But yeah, but the pecking order in terms of receiver snaps after that, Worthy, then Watson, then Juju, and then down to Sky and McColl. I was here ready to say, I mean, my big thing is if he's done, I think you got to make a move. And I don't think like a Kadarius Toney or McCole Hardman like they've done the last 2 years kind of move. I look at this receiving core probably even worse than last year. If he's gone for the season, it's pretty much the same, sliding in Worthy for the rookie Rice last year. But I think you might be seeing a big downgrade in Kelsey, which kind of affects things. So I mean, I would go make a move if he's out for the year. Him maybe not being out for the year kind of changed this thing, and they got some time because we got like at least 4 or 5 weeks until the trade deadline hits. But in general, I am good even if we make a mistake, if it's in terms of going all in to chase history. Because that's what I want to do. I am all in on winning this season. And if we, sit a second round pick for, Amari Cooper, that probably seems high for Amari Cooper, but a second round pick for someone and it blows up in our face, I will be fine with taking that chance, because I don't want to go throughout this entire season. The margins were so slim last year, and they had to pull out all these close games. They did it with a defense that might have been better last year. Can that defense stay at that level that it was last year? A lot of things went right for them in the playoffs. And I just don't know if you can depend on all that going your way once again in the playoffs with such a depleted receiving core and just having to gut out everything we can, every ounce of Mahomes not making mistakes all playoffs, Travis Kelce playing, unbelievable for his age, just all these things that have to go your way to pull out these one-score games and win the Super Bowl. It's hard to see that happening again if you're just going through with this receiving core for the rest of the season.
Lot to unpack there. I'll start with this. You mentioned that basically next man up at this point is Xavier Worthy. And the fact that his build doesn't necessarily give you a lot of confidence about being a volume receiver in your offense. He's not somebody, and I would say this year more than any other, like as a rookie, he dealt with the hamstring in training camp, so he probably wasn't like fully in the weight program. And they talk about so much growth that these guys go through physically and mentally between year 1 and year 2. I mean, he's not even a grown man. He's 21. This guy's a kid. And so I think about like suddenly asking him instead of, a well-built, at least 200-pound, very physical player in Rashee Rice to do all those things. And that doesn't sound like something that the Chiefs even would want to do. You're putting him at risk. And on top of that, you mentioned Kelce, those are your guys. Like, can Worthy and Kelce essentially kind of carry this offense? And you may get reinforcements at, different stages throughout the year. It's possible that Rashee Rice is only out for 6 weeks or something. I mean, at first, the injury to me looked like hyperextension. And I'm like, well, Kelce only missed 1 game when he hyperextended his knee in practice. I mean, he wasn't getting hit with force the way that Mahomes hit him. So maybe it's a higher grade. Maybe he has to miss a little more time. But that's all it looked like on replay was hyperextended. So maybe there's a chance that you see Rashee. Maybe there's a chance that you see Pacheco. Who knows? He broke his leg. He broke his leg. And in Hollywood, there's possibility that he might, show up for the playoffs or something. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking Xavier Worthy is it's his wide receiver room right now. As of today, it's his room. He is clearly the number 1 option that they have in the passing game. But this is also a guy that so far I don't think has seen more than 4 or 5 targets in a game. He only had 4 on Sunday against the Chargers. And something that I think is interesting is if we look at how they used him. So, I mean, let's look at his 3 catches. One of them, my God, one of the most important, I think, mental health plays that I've maybe have ever experienced, certainly in the Mahomes era. I mean, I was so unbelievably low, and they come out and throw that bomb and score a touchdown. And I'll give credit to Adam Teicher in his last year covering the Chiefs, finally has a good take. Teicher says, is it possible to overstate how big that play was? And I mean, I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but it was an absolute rocket ship when they scored that touchdown.
And the longest completion of Mahomes' career in terms of air yards.
Yeah. So Worthy gets the go ball. He also caught a drag in what is, more commonly known as mesh. He caught that one. He also ran the Tyreek Hill short yardage play that's kind of a faking the slant and dip back out toward the sideline. And the only other play that Worthy was targeted on was a screen. And I'm looking at the usage and I'm thinking a lot of that's Rashee stuff, except the deep the 9-ball that he caught. And I think about in terms of the usage, it's like there's no reason to say that Worthy can't run all the Rashee Rice routes. Maybe there are some option routes in there that he needs more time and to find the space in zones and whatever. But like just throwing him the ball, behind the line of scrimmage and asking him to make plays and be fast and make guys miss and whatever. I don't know how good it would look, but I don't think it's like he's not capable of doing it. We just didn't think about the physicality of it is really, I think, where people would naturally, you should be a little worried if that's what they go to. You mentioned that Justin Watson and Juju were the next two guys in terms of like snap percent. How many snaps did Juju play?
I think Watson was like 60%. I don't have it in front of me, but Watson was like 60% and Juju was like 50%. Juju's kind of a wild card here because he's still way younger than you'd think. What was it, like 27 or something? You just got to wonder what he has left in his tank. I mean, after getting completely discarded by New England and all you hear about is the knee injury, obviously played a big role for this team 2 years ago. If he can get back to that level, then maybe you can survive. But we don't have the evidence to really judge that yet. He's honestly looked more capable than I thought he would be. Like, I thought he'd be kind of a break glass in case of emergency guy, which I guess we're basically there now. But I don't know what kind of value. I don't know if he's going to be good enough like that. Those three guys, Worthy, Watson, and Juju trio, is that good enough to, drag you through like a deep playoff run?
If I told you could bank 500 receiving yards for Juju right now, would you take it?
Yeah, sure.
500 yards from Juju.
Sure.
It's about 40 yards a game. Catch 3 passes, catch 4 passes. And I think that is something like the difference between that and the Juju that they had 2 years ago is basically what he could do after the catch. And I would just imagine he probably can't do a lot after the catch right now.
Also like a trust factor. Because we saw a lot of dumbassery with Kadarius and MVS last year, McCole coming in. And we kept kind of pining like, well, maybe the receiving core wasn't great last year, but we did at least have a guy like Juju who we could rely upon. And so maybe there's some of that too that, Mahomes will still trust him. But, a lot of like how this game looks so bad, it's really tough if your number one option goes out in a game, because think of that Falcons game and how much of the offense went through Rashee Rice, and all of a sudden you're taking that out. Just throw the game plan out the window essentially. And so that just makes things tougher in the game. So it's not a huge surprise that, they obviously came out and looked horrible even before he got hurt. But after that, it's easy to see why, okay, what do we have now and what can we do to start moving the ball, especially when the offensive line's randomly giving up pressures like kind of up the middle, which I don't think Mahomes is really used to in his career. And I think that kind of led to a lot of those struggles early on too, is he's not used to getting the pressure from those front three that we really trust, especially in pass protection. He's not used to getting that kind of push. I don't know who the Chargers even have in the middle there. Poona Ford was one of the starters, I know. But it sure seemed like they were getting a lot of push right in his face. And it was kind of, that was kind of leading to Happy Feet. Mitch Schwartz had a really good breakdown of every single drop back he had in the first half on Sunday. And it was kind of like, it wasn't, there's a lot of reports about Happy Feet and stuff like that. And you're kind of wondering what's going on because it did kind of get to that. But a lot of that was caused by early pressure coming right up the middle.
Yeah, and it's obviously uncharacteristic. We think that this is, I don't even know if it's like that there needs to be an argument. I think that universally the Chiefs are considered the best interior guard, center guard in the NFL. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, before we get off that, what names tickle your fancy in terms of trading for a receiver? Because if you're asking me, like Amari Cooper and Deontay Johnson are the two names that make the most sense. Obviously, the reports of Devontae being on the market today. Obviously, you're trying to trade with the Raiders, and that might take a little more. And his contract is huge, so a lot of roadblocks on that one. Man, bringing Tyreek back, I know that's so unrealistic, but man, Tyreek Hill back after bringing Kareem Hunt back. Oh my God, getting the whole band back together to chase history like that. That's the idea of that is so much fun. Like, I'll I'll be silly with picks. I'll get something stupid to try and get Tyreek in here just for the fun of it. It would be so much fun. But in terms of realistic options, I like Amari Deontay the most. Who do you like?
I love that you choose the word fun because it's literally all I can imagine. Just Tyreek back in Arrowhead wearing red. I mean, would Pacheco, injured Pacheco, agree to give Tyreek 10?
Tyreek can afford it. He can afford it.
What would Tyreek, what number would he wear? I mean, this is the type of speculation I actually want to do. I want to know what uniform he's going to be in, but I'm just how giddy he would be. He's already it seems like one of the guys in the NFL that enjoys himself, just truly deep down to his core. He's just a giggly child out there playing football. He loves it so much. And to imagine him doing that in Kansas City and getting a chance to, put the cherry on top of a three-peat and everything else. I think it would just be about as much fun as you could have watching the NFL. I don't know, man. I mean, I think when I look at how they are currently constructed, they've got 5 wide receivers. I mean, as I said, I think it's Xavier Worthy's room right now. They will need Juju and Justin to make some plays, maybe an occasional appearance from those other two, and maybe an acquisition by the best GM in sports. But I don't know. Did you see this thing from Harold Kuntz at Fox 4 here in Kansas City? He said that in the press box after Sky's drop, there was a really loud thud, and it was Brett Veach banging his hand on the table. Cause out of frustration.
Usually banging the table for someone.
Exactly.
The table for Patrick Mahomes. Now he's banging the table against Sky Moore.
Yeah, completely different banging the table context for sure.
And who wasn't banging something after that? Sky Moore, you're fucking buried in the depth chart. You're not playing. Your career's on the fritz. Okay, here's your chance. You get one more chance to come back. There's this random couple injuries. Now you get a chance, whether it's deserved or not. Here's your chance. Here's an easy catch. A big play, a big opportunity, easy catch, right through his hands. The fact that he couldn't take advantage of that opportunity, I was probably one of the last ones to hold out some hope for Sky Moore. I can't do it after that. It was an embarrassment. This is your chance, and to not come through in that opportunity, I got no hope. I got no hope for him. Sorry.
Well, I mean, look, I don't disagree with you, man. And if we're talking about just a possible shopping list, going to the Goodwill, trying to find a receiver here. Look, Deontay Johnson, the Chiefs were interested in. Pittsburgh not interested in trading him to the Chiefs. Deontay Johnson, I think, in terms of the skill set, the way that he would fit into the offense, so on and so forth, he's an excellent football player. I think he would fit in pretty seamlessly, despite the fact that he doesn't know the Chiefs offense. So, there may be a bit of a learning curve there, but I also know that a couple Steelers fans in my life. And I've also had Deontay Johnson on my fantasy team before, and just every week, all the way up, to the last moment, it's you never know if he's going to be active. It's his foot, it's his ankle, it's his calf, it's his knee, it's his hamstring, it's his hip. He just seems like a guy that is always on the cusp of not playing. And for a team that is trying to acquire somebody because of the injuries, I don't think that that's the right guy for us, I would say.
He'd fit right in. He'd fit right in at the room. Or Amari Cooper. He's one of the leaders in the NFL in drops right now. He'd fit right into the room. These are their company. These are their guys.
Well, and Amari Cooper intrigues me, but he just feels I think he feels like Juju, as far as a guy that doesn't offer you this giant ceiling, but he just has a more functioning knee than Juju does. But if in terms of the Juju that we had 2 years ago, I think that Amari Cooper is still even a little bit better than that. But just the role in the offense, he will run over the middle, he will catch the ball, he will take some punishment, he will break a couple tackles. I think that's kind of how I see him, but I might be totally wrong because he plays for the Browns, and I don't watch the Browns.
I think he's more dynamic than you're giving him credit for, and I think he could provide a lot of value in terms of intermediate routes, stuff over the middle, and just they're really struggling in that intermediate area. They're kind of getting the deep stuff, and they're definitely getting the shallow stuff, but still really struggling in that intermediate stuff. I mean, there's weird stats with the Chiefs' offense, so they're tied for 29th in big plays. That is 10-yard runs and 20-yard passes. Their company at the bottom of that statistic, from bottom to top: Chicago, Dallas, New England, Chargers, Giants, Browns, and Panthers. That's their current company in terms of big plays on offense. And yet, I kind of feel like we're seeing more big plays than we did last year. So it's kind of weird because I think we are kind of getting like the explosive plays. I remember the stat from week 1. We had the 4 touchdowns of over 20 yards all of last season. The Chiefs are already at 4 for this season. And they only had 7 touchdowns of 10 or more yards last year, and they're already at 6 this year. So we're kind of seeing like those, over-the-top plays a little bit. And we're also seeing them being good in efficiency. In terms of success rate, they're really good at like getting like 5 yards. Really good at getting 5 yards on the ground. Not very good at all at getting like 10 to 20 yards. So there's some weird stats about the Chiefs offense right now.
I mean, I can add on to it because something that's really interesting about like those big play stats, that you read off the company that like are with the Chiefs in the bottom 10, but an absolute atrocity like the Jacksonville Jaguars are in the top 10. So like it's still early in the season and it's hard to make sense of some of those numbers just like this early. But I also saw from our guy, Ron Kopp, Mahomes has the lowest deep throw rate in the NFL right now at just 6% of his throws going for 20 yards or more. And yet he is tied for the league in deep touchdowns with 3. So it's working, even though
efficient,
right?
Efficiency.
I also saw, this is more fantasy slanted, but just kind of gives you a general vibe of how it's been going with Mahomes statistically. Has failed to hit 21 fantasy points in 13 straight games. By comparison, Josh Allen has 9 21-point games during the 13-game stretch. Lamar Jackson has 7. Brock Purdy was 6. Josh Dobbs has 5. Derek Carr has 4. I mean, like it's not good. Bryce Young has had 21 fantasy points more recently than Patrick Mahomes. It's not looking good. But I think here's another one that I think everyone has probably heard about a dozen times by now. Patrick Mahomes is 13-12 in games where his team is trailed by 10 plus. I mean, he's the only quarterback in NFL history with a winning record in these situations. I know that you didn't catch this. I'll say this and then I'll pass it back to you, Dirk. In the aftermath of the game, when you get into the CBS postgame studio, the thing that they start talking about, they spend a lot of time on this. We're talking maybe 5-10 straight minutes. How the Chiefs are comfortable in uncomfortable situations. They were talking about the coaches and the players alike, that grit, that patience, that resilience that allows them to outmaneuver opponents week in and week out, regardless of the circumstances. I have to like give credit to, we're talking about like Boomer Esiason and Matt Ryan here. But I mean, honestly, like they nailed it because despite all of these challenges that the Chiefs are having offensively, they're 4-0. They're one of the only undefeated teams in the league. They are in sole possession of first place in the AFC. And yeah, their margin of victory is way down. And yeah, the offense doesn't look great. And yeah, they're dealing with all these injuries. But the Chiefs are winning. They have 10 more wins over the last 100 games than any other NFL team. So I don't care how it's happening. It's happening, folks. And I imagine that they're going to strap them up on Monday, and do it again against Derek Carr and the Saints next week.
Yeah, you mentioned 13-12 when he's down by double digits. There was weird stats going around where CBS was saying he's 12-0 and down exactly 10 points in a game. But then Nick said, his company or his team looked at it and it was 9 games or something. They won their last 9 games and they're down exactly 10 points. I don't know. There's weird stats going around about him being down double digits, but I do know he's the only quarterback like in his career with a winning record. And it's like, he's at like 55% winning percentage. And then Brady was at like 37%, I want to say. And yeah, I did see that in that Bills Ravens game, that the matchup for the Intercontinental Championship of the NFL, they showed like best records over the last, call it 6 years or something, and the Chiefs were a healthy amount ahead of both of them. And they kept saying like, there's the Chiefs at number one, and then the Bills and Ravens like right behind them. And it's like, I wouldn't say right behind them, but they are behind them. Also, the fun stat that I didn't see making the rounds this week: Mahomes, 18-1 versus the AFC West on the road in his career. So that one's kind of fun too. We've gone too long. I think the number one story from the game might have been, well, Rashee Rice, obviously. The other big story from the game was the return of Kareem Hunt. And honestly, we're talking about number one options in the receiving game right now. I think Kareem Hunt might be the number one option for the offense right now. I thought he looked really good out there. I was very impressed. I feel like you need like a running back with like some desperation to him. Like that's like a requirement for the position. That's kind of why running backs like suck after they get paid. It's just like they don't have like the fight to go out there and abuse their bodies 25 times and fight for every single yard you can. But that's the job description. And Kareem Hunt's just been waiting 6 years for this day. Like that he's just been he's going along in Cleveland, and he's happy to get a paycheck. He got a decent little second check there, second contract. I mean, but he wanted to be in Kansas City, and I think he rued the day when he blew that opportunity. We let him go, and he's been waiting, and he probably thought that would never happen. I mean, what were the chances of him actually coming back here? And so I thought it was awesome to see him get the ball and just run with it, and he looks good. I don't think it was the Kareem Hunt of 2018 necessarily, but it definitely wasn't the Kareem Hunt of 2023. And he's someone who I think right now, like, I am ready to feed the rock to Kareem Hunt moving forward in the immediate future.
Yeah, look, I don't know how long it's going to last, but he looked like he was the best running back on the roster, which is crazy.
Over Pacheco?
I don't know if I'm going to Jeff Allen this thing just yet.
Yes, I saw someone say that it was Jeff Allen.
Yeah, he said that he was the best running back on the roster, including 10. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I mean, I'm thinking in terms of like active running backs right now. I don't know that I would take him over Pacheco, age, explosiveness, whatever. But Kareem has got more running back in him, and I think Pacheco has more athlete in him, if that makes sense. I'll say this. Is Kareem Hunt like the happiest guy in the league right now? Is he maybe on top of that like the most motivated guy in the league right now? Like, yeah. He's in such a unique position. I like how you talked about like wanting a kind of a desperation a little bit from a running back. Need some kind of hunger, some kind of drive, and like, I don't think that this is the same situation for Kareem as like when someone gets a big contract and then they're not hungry anymore. Like, he's back home, but I don't think that he's like resting easy. I don't think that he's breathing a sigh of relief or anything yet, because he's not really in a role or an opportunity, and hasn't accomplished anything in being back yet, that would allow him to actually relax. And so this is a guy that has an absolutely massive chip on his shoulder. And he's surrounded by people that he knows like care about him a lot. I mean, people may forget, but he and Patrick Mahomes were in the same draft class. They got drafted together. And I believe that they have kept in actually like pretty close contact, even since Kareem left, because there's something about being in a draft class with guys. I mean, I bet Travis Kelce still talks to Brad Cottam twice a week. It's just kind of how it goes. You just build a brotherhood with the people that you get drafted with. But I don't know, man. I think that the thing that excites me the most about Kareem is that mindset and that mentality that he's got to have right now of just being so hungry to show the league that he's not done, to show the Chiefs that he's, still valuable, that he can help them. He's hungry to contribute to the success. He wants to experience a piece of it. And frankly, God, the Chiefs need him, man. Like, they need every ounce of football that guy has left to borrow from Moneyball. Like, we want to squeeze every last bit of football that Kareem Hunt has left. And frankly, he seems like the type of guy that's going to give you everything he's got.
Yeah, and he's gonna leave every ounce that he has out there on the field. Like it's he came along at the perfect time. It's crazy that it happened, because how many years now have it's just been like, let's bring back Kareem Hunt? Like, there's just been fan calls for that for ever since he's left, basically. And now to see it finally happen at a time where, you know, our first two receivers are hurt, our top running back's hurt, and our second running back's basically indisposed because of his fumble issues. Like, we needed this guy to step up. I mean, without him, I'm not sure where we're at. And it almost feels like, I mean, the Chiefs were a running team on Sunday. They became a running football team. You know, that's kind of playing to the game for a while, because, you know, Herbert, and without his tackles, Herbert's, you know, limping around. So they're obviously limited on the other side. So they don't really need to, you know, go out and you know, score tons of points. They just needed to control the game, which they were able to do by just feeding Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. There was like a straight up Kareem Hunt drive. Yeah, and it was the touchdown drive to get them up to 17 when he ended up getting vultured by his friend Samaje Perine. But I mean, it was like Kareem Hunt, and then like one to Noah Gray or something, and then Kareem Hunt again. They just kept going to him, and it was working. And I mean, it just felt awesome to see them commit to the run against a team that is trying to commit to the run as much as anybody, you know, except for his brother in Baltimore. And I'm watching this thinking like, man, I knew that Pacheco was such a big part of this offense's identity, and now you have a guy that can like grind out some games like that for you. He may not have the home run ability, but God, like, Kareem can be a 3-down guy for you. That's why he was playing so much as a rookie, because he could pass protect and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And, you know, suddenly it's like between he and Perine, and you make Carson Steele like the guy that you can sprinkle in and use in all these weird ways, the way that they intended originally. You know, that I think it's I'm actually like suddenly kind of excited about where the running back room is. And I mean, look, it's 1 week, it's recency bias, but gosh, man, he looked good. And some of the data backs it up too. I'm sure you heard he had like 3 plays over a certain miles per hour, and he only had like 2 of them all of last year or something. And I may have those numbers mixed up. Maybe he had 2 and he had 3 all of last year, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I think it's 2 and 2, but it was like, you know, 15 runs this week and like 160 runs last year or something.
Exactly. Yeah, he clearly wasn't healthy last year.
It was such a throwback performance. The Chiefs even brought out the shovel pass, which I swear we've shelved for like 3 years now.
And looked
really fell apart. And, you know, finally got the breakdown, do a little fake jet sweep and a little shovel. That was good to see. Let's switch to the defense. We haven't talked defense at all. I want to touch on this run defense again. I put it at the end of the show again here, but, you know, last week I had the stat where the Chiefs in yards per carry, the best they finished under Andy Reid is 15th. The best they finished is 15th. Average 24th in terms of yards per carry allowed on defense. The run defense. And last week they stood at 12th in the NFL, but I kind of juked the stats a little bit and said they were second in the NFL if you just removed Lamar Jackson's rush attempts, because that's kind of an outlier. It's Lamar Jackson. It's not really, you know, telling of what, you know, the run defense can actually be. This week, after shutting down the run-heavy Chargers, they're up to 4th in the NFL in yards per carry allowed. So no more juking the stats. Don't have to remove the Lamar stats from there at all. They're just a straight-up 4th. And I'm curious if you think, is this because they've played 3 teams who kind of rely on the run in, you know, Baltimore, Atlanta, and the Chargers? Like, they would definitely want to come out and run the ball. And so the defense has just kind of, you know, leaned into that and kind of taken that away and said, no, you're going to have to throw the ball. Like, kind of, it's just like a Belichick, like, you're not going to do what you're most comfortable doing. You're going to have to do something else. Or is this just what this defense is now? Are they going to be good against the run for seemingly the first time in the Andy Reid era?
I don't even know technically like what it means or what it takes to be good against the run, because like no one is
why they're good now? What, like, why, how did it happen? happen? Where do they all of a sudden get good at it?
Right. And that's the thing, like I think that if I can be honest, like this is kind of a backhanded compliment, I guess. I honestly think one of the things that's really helped them as far as the run defense is concerned is that it doesn't look like Chris Jones is taking plays off. Like he understands that his role on this team as a leader, both like literally being a leader, but also in that figurative sense of like, we need you to go out on the field and do certain things, those leadership qualities that you expect. Like, that you need to take on some double teams for us, not just against the pass. Like, that you need to do some of the crap that doesn't necessarily earn you money, like just to get the sacks at the end of the day. And I have seen Chris do some excellent work against the run. We've always kind of known that guys like Karlaftis or a guy like Dana or whatever, that those guys are going to be pretty good against the run and just okay as pass rushers. But honestly, it seems like the play of Mike Pennell and Tershawn Wharton and ultimately the linebackers being able to just be kept clean and then, finish these plays. And they also have great tackling in the secondary. I mean, it's 11 guys that I think are all committed to doing it. And I don't know if that's just like Spags talking them into it, if it's the right collection of talent. I really don't know, man. I mean, I want to credit the coaching and the players in the same breath, but like run defense is just something like, how we talk about how like like a regression to the mean. If you had a bunch of turnovers, you caused a bunch of turnovers last year as a defense, you'll probably not cause as many this year. Or a team that wins a bunch of close games one year is probably not going to win as many the next year, that type of stuff. That's how I feel about run defense. Like, I think it's just probably this up and down thing. You never really know what you're going to get from teams, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the same teams that are in the top 10 in run defense every year. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think other teams just prioritize it more. And Andy's always kind of just held the belief like, look, if you're going to run the ball and stick to running the entire game, have that kind of discipline in your play calling, you're going to have a good chance. But not a lot of teams were able to do it. There were certain teams that kind of were able to do it and kind of give us trouble because of that. But a lot of teams weren't able to do it. They'll get excited. Like, okay, we've got the run ball game going. Now let's end with the pass. It's just a pass heavy league. It's not like they're at fault here. And Andy knows that. And Andy's kind of knows like if you're going to run the whole game, that's a less efficient way to move the ball than throwing the ball is. So it was just kind of thing that they just didn't care about that much. And you also got to kind of look at today's NFL. The NFL is changing. The too high taking over, and running the ball is now in vogue more than it has been in any time in recent history. So maybe now the Chiefs are leaning into it more now because of that. So I think that could play a factor. In terms of personnel, you were kind of talking. It's interesting because they're playing Wharton now a lot more than like Pennell and Noddy. And, Wharton you would think is more of like the pass rushing type of D tackle. And, where Pennell and Noddy are more the traditional nose tackle, which would be there to help stop the run more. But we've leaned way more on Wharton this year over those two playing nose tackle. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I was trying to say, you mentioned Chris Jones. Chris Jones was the best player on the field on Sunday. I rewatched the game this morning, just try to get a idea of what was going on out there. Chris Jones off the snap. Every single play, man. Just pushing his guy, forcing a double team, or sliding in. He was every single play just popping off the screen, right up the middle, pushing his guy back. A very impressive performance. You're even starting to hear some Chris Jones national buzz for Defensive Player of the Year, which was good to see. I want to say, was it Tracy Wolfson that put out like a random tweet? But there's just kind of, I think, some buzz that like I think he could kind of slide in there unless one of these edge guys goes for like 20 plus sacks. Like, look, he doesn't have the same opportunity of sacks as these edge guys. And what other people are bringing up is, they're racking up sacks against like a backup tackle. This game, they're getting like 5 sacks in the game. And so it boosts their numbers. Whereas Chris Jones really produces at the end of these games and in big games. We had his monster year 2 years ago or whatever. And he just kept doing it again and again in the fourth quarter and third downs and big drives and big plays. And Chris Jones was coming through time and time again. And that's just how he is. He almost kind of saved his effort for times like that before. And you're almost seeing more of a steady performance now while seeing those big plays at the end of games too.
Yeah, he's become a complete force versus a guy that was just kind of sack chasing for many years. But we also got to keep in mind that he's a 300-pound player, and so, I mean, there have been times over the last year or so where they just feel like, hey, Chris, we need you to go play 90% of the snaps, and you can't give everything you've got at that size, throughout an entire NFL game. I just don't think it's possible. So there are going to be some times that you have to do that in order to kind of load manage yourself. Here's an interesting one on the yards per carry. A little cross-show promotion here. The boss over at KCSN, our guy BJ Kissel, did the 10 things after the Chiefs won. And one of the things was talking about, the yards per carry that the Chiefs are allowing, how eye-popping it is. How about this? In games not against the Chiefs, the 4 teams that the Chiefs have held to such a low yards per carry, they're at like almost 6 yards per carry in the other 3 games that they've played. So, I mean, these are teams that are very, very good at running the ball, and then they play the Chiefs, and the numbers just plummet. I want people to realize, I know that the Chargers offense, I think under Harbaugh right now, I mean, no one is going to be like really writing letters home about the receivers for the Chargers just yet. Like Quentin Johnston has caught some touchdowns this year and was a first-round pick last year. McConk had a nice little day against us, was really, I think, giving fits to some of the guys that were playing in the slot on Sunday. But man, do you guys realize the Chargers had 225 yards of offense? 225. 75 of them came on their first drive.
Yeah.
They only had 2 scoring drives on the day, and the second one that happened after the interception turned whatever Rashee injury, they went for negative 12 yards on their scoring drive, the second of the day. I mean, the Chiefs absolutely, they completely shut the Chargers down, whether it was passing or running on the day. I mean, they held them scoreless for 49 minutes of the game. This is absolutely a defensive team, and they allowed that Chiefs offense that just didn't seem like it had any potency at all until that play to Worthy. And even after that, it was still just barely trying to chip away in order to gain some yardage. Man, the defense just holds their own and allows the offense to do what they need to do and gives them the time. And even when they're put in these bad situations, again, the Chargers had a scoring drive where they lost 12 yards. So you can imagine where they got the ball to start the drive. And the Chiefs defense, man, they just keep showing up. And through 4 weeks, you could say Chris Jones is the best player on the team through 4 weeks. You could say that the defense is the best unit on the team. You can do all those things. And I'm buying every single piece of stock in that Chiefs defense right now because, dude, they're eating teams alive out there.
Yeah, I mean, they really only had 2 drives in the game, that opening drive and then the drive early fourth quarter where they ended up going for the 4th and 1, which was just an awful play. Rewatching that, just a drop back pass on 4th and 1. Great plays. Chris Jones gets an initial pressure. Bolton covers a guy coming across the short middle. Brian Cook blankets a guy over the deep middle. And those are basically his 2 options as he's rolling out. And then Felix actually shows up and gets a pressure and kind of gets the hit on Herbert as he's throwing it away. But just a really bad play. A dumb decision, I thought. In a game like that, you got to take the points. And I was happy to see them going for it. Most of the time, you go for a 4th down, and the team's like the opposing team's fans are like, oh, no, they're going for it. Damn it. I was happy to see it. Fuck, go for it. Don't take the points, please. Please, I'm begging you. So that was interesting. Some quick hitters on the defense before we get out of here. Jalen Watson. He might have been the second best player on the field. He looked fantastic. He should have had a pick where he just he pushes Quentin Johnston so far off his line and then just gets the ball right in his chest and he's just not quite expecting it. Pretty typical for a Chiefs corner to be a great corner and then not be able to make a play on the ball. Let's call it the Marcus Peters curse. It's because we got rid of Peters who, had a bunch of flaws, but he could make plays on the ball like crazy. And now for the last 8 years, all we've had is corners who's seemingly really good, and yet none of them can make a play on the ball and make a pick. Trent McDuffie's still without an interception in his career. One of the more ridiculous stats I've ever seen. It has to end sometime.
You can even look at the other guys. I mean, Snead would make a couple, but he and Charles Ward, I mean, both of those guys probably combined like 8 interceptions for their careers. McDuffie's, bringing up the rear with 0.
Great at their job, but like just cannot make an interception, make a play on the ball to save their lives.
They're all Charles Woodson until they move to safety.
Watson, he should have had that pick. He could have forced another where the ball actually bounces like into the middle of the field. That was his deflection. He also breaks up a 3rd down pass, which ends up being on the second to last drive for the Chargers. So that was a big one. I thought there was some like Drew Tranquil negative buzz. My Zag of the week is Drew Tranquil actually looks really good out there. I feel like Chiefs fans really lose their shit over 8-yard swing passes, and they're just like ready to destroy linebackers' careers after they give up one. I think this is like a Nick Bolton effect personally. But Drew Tranquil lived in the Chargers backfield on Sunday. He was in there knifing through, shutting down runs, getting pressures on Justin Herbert. He was all over the place in the backfield. He gave up one swing pass to a fullback where he was a little late, and he did miss a tackle on a receiver in open space. But that's a tough assignment. But I thought overall Drew Tranquil looked really good. And I feel like there's some negativity about him out there right now.
I think some of that stems from I believe it was PFF that has him with like one of the lowest coverage grades for off-ball linebackers in the league right now. I believe that technically in terms of times that he's been targeted, according to some, probably PFF, whatever, but it was like he's been targeted 13 times and allowed 12 catches for over 100 yards and a touchdown. So like if you're just getting peppered like that and you're constantly around the ball and you're not making plays on the ball except for just getting the tackle, you could get a low coverage grade. I mean, generally speaking, I think that you're right that we see a linebacker, in zone, a ball goes over their head, or they can't quite get to the sideline against the guy that runs 4-3 in the opposing offense or whatever. And so they it's an 8-yard gain instead of a 2-yard gain or whatever. And because they get to see Fred Warner, who honestly is probably the leader in the clubhouse for Defensive Player of the Year right now. He's been playing absolutely possessed. But like, Fred Warner is a unicorn. He's probably, depending on how long he plays, like that guy is the type of player in this era that can be a Hall of Famer, or at least a Hall of Very Good, because people talk about him the way they talk about, the Luke Kuechly's of the world. He can just do everything. And not every linebacker can. I thought that Drew Tranquil was clearly very motivated to play the Chargers, very motivated to be playing in LA. I thought he was in on a lot of what was going on defensively. And I think really the only reason that there's any kind of Drew Tranquil negativity floating around is probably because that one stat. And I some of this is probably just, I think some of this is really just because we've all trained our minds over the last however many years now. It's a passing league. It's a passing league. It's a passing league. And so if they're not good against the pass, it's like, well, then they're useless. If a linebacker is only good against the run isn't important. So who cares? But now, literally, like as now as we can possibly be living in the moment, folks, guys that can play the run, they may not need a 260-pound like linebacker anytime soon, but guys that can really play against the run and hold up to that kind of physicality, play in and play out instead of 220-pound linebackers. I just think that the league is better suited for guys like that right now.
And it all plays together. We're talking about how good the run defense looks. Part of that is because a guy like Drew Tranquil is attacking the line of scrimmage when he sees that, because that play was off a play action, and the fullback leaks out and he's a little late getting there because he's set, because they're playing the Chargers, which is such a run-heavy team. Their game plan is to stop the run first and foremost. He's a little late getting out there, and then gives out that catch. But it's 8 yards. You're going to allow a catch to the fullback if your trade-off is shutting down the run the entire game. So I think that all kind of plays together, and I think that was the game plan on Sunday. Drew, you're attacking the line of scrimmage, and then, if you get sucked up on a play action or two, so be it.
And what's interesting too is like, if McDuffie gives up an 8-yard catch, we're like, hell yeah, he's right there in the guy's pocket and he's not going to give an extra yard. But if a linebacker gives up an 8-yard catch, we're like, what the hell? Oh my gosh, he can't play against the pass. I mean, it's interesting the different context there because one is on the outside and the other's in the middle of the field or whatever. But
it's the Chiefs fan most hated play. Nick Bolton gave one up to Baltimore. They lost their shit. Drew Tranquil goes up one this week. They lose their shit.
Can I tell you who my most hated defensive player is?
Most hated defensive player.
You said that you've been hating on Bolton or whatever, and then they kind of turned Tranquil. You know who I'm hating on? Who I'm hating? It's Joshua Williams, man. Joshua Williams is preventing Chiefs fans from seeing the one thing that they want to see: Trent McDuffie in the slot. Joshua Williams, if you were on the field, man, you and Jalen Watson could play on the outside, and Trent McDuffie could be in the slot, and we could all live happily ever after. But because we got to have Najee Johnson running around out here because you didn't do what you needed to do in the preseason, I got McDuffie playing on the outside most of the time, and I only get to see him like one blitz a game. And it makes me sad, Josh. I need more from you.
Can I take a victory lap from last year, spending way too much time on this program saying that Jalen Watson should be playing over Joshua Williams and not understanding the rotation? I think nobody else even talked about it. And I was like, why are they trading off? I think Watson's way better. I don't understand the strategy here. I'm going to take my victory lap now.
You want to know why he actually didn't get as many snaps as he should have last year? He played with a torn labrum. It happened in like week 1 or week 2. And he said he played the entire year. And I'm like, wait, press coverage, physical tackling, Jalen Watson, torn labrum all year last year? Yeah, that's what he said in the offseason, man. I would imagine that's the only reason why they were trying to, maybe not have him on the field all the time. But yeah, I mean, we've both been on Jalen Watson really after that first year, just thinking like, man, this guy, he's out here making some plays and really, really kind of hitching wagons to him, and it's starting to pay off.
Okay, final 2 notes. That's all I got here. Chimichurri in the slot. You kind of touched on it. I think he got picked on a little bit in this game, and I think he will continue to get picked on if we're lining him up in the slot in man coverage. I know he brings a lot of flexibility, and he has strengths that he can bring to the table, but if he's just manned up with someone in the slot, I don't think he's quite quick enough, and we'll see more things like that McConkey slant over the middle that ends up going for like 30 yards or whatever it does. And last note, just because I want to give him a shout out because he flashed a few times, and I feel like it might have been the best game of his career up to this point. Felix had a solid game out there. I want to give him more run. I thought he got a couple pressures in there. And I noticed him doing things. And if you have a guy or you take in a first round like that, and it's not a position where like stacked here. I know Dana was out this week, so there's extra snaps to go around, but start giving him more snacks because I think, and snacks, give him some more snacks. Because I think he can develop, and he's obviously talented enough that you took him in the first round. So start giving Felix some more. I was impressed by him in the rewatch.
Yeah, don't disagree. I mean, I didn't rewatch, but like on First Watch, which is also a decent brunch restaurant. Shout out to First Watch. I will say though that a guy like Felix, it seemed like what the role might be for him was situational pass rusher, and he's looked really good against the run, man. Like I've seen Felix popping on some of these run plays to where I'm like, look, Malik Herring, I want you on the team, but we thought it was probably going to be a rotation between those two on Sunday because Dana's out, and we're thinking, okay, well, on obvious rundowns, it's going to be Herring, and on obvious pass downs, it's going to be Felix, and there's some mix and match that happens in there, and maybe they were going, well, this drive we're going to give to Felix or whatever. But man, I want to see more. You're right. Another guy that I want to shout out real quick. I just think that Mike Pennell is so cool. I think that he is great at football. And every time that he's been on the team, we've been excellent against the run. And now that he's on the team at the beginning of the season, they're showing that like even in week 1, is Mike Pennell just the key to the run defense. And like, he just seems so smooth. Every time I see like the videos from the Chiefs of people walking past the camera, answering whatever question they have taped to it, he's always really funny and comfortable. And by the way, he wears 69. I mean, we gave Aaron Allen all the credit in the world for wearing 69. Mike Pennell has been 69 on his team for like 3 years, and it's like nobody wants to make the joke anymore. I know we're almost 40 years old, but 69 is still totally
not over
our wheelhouse, man.
Not over until we get a number 420 out there. 69 remains the best number on the field.
Yeah. And I'm thrilled to be a Mike
That's
Fidel.
what Tyreek is going to rock the 420 out there, the 420 Tyreek jersey.
A couple last things real quick before we go. Travis Kelce on Sunday now has the most receptions and receiving yards in Chiefs history. He is also only 2 touchdown catches for the team record, 2 behind Tony Gonzalez. Shocker. So, I mean, really, over the next few weeks, Travis Kelce is going to become the guy with the most catches, most yards, and most touchdowns in Chiefs history. And he's doing this all while recording a TV show in the middle of a football season. Pretty impressive work from Travis Kelce.
Unless Tyreek comes back and starts chipping into those records again.
He could. I think if Tyreek came back, he'd wear 0. That's probably what it would be. I think he'd be at 0 since Worthy's in 1 and Pacheco's in 10. Last 2 things, I just think it's worth noting that I think one of the things that Mahomes was really struggling with was like all the simulated pressure. And it sounds like they kept getting him to flush right into their bait and all these different things. A lot of this has to do with Mike McDonald, when he was at Michigan, was doing some of that, took it to the Ravens, and now the Seahawks. The defensive coordinator for the Chargers, Jesse Minter, was like the top assistant at Michigan. And then when McDonald left, took over Michigan's defense and came with Harbaugh to LA. So he's doing this Mike McDonald simulated pressure type of stuff. And it's just like Mahomes never knew where the rusher was going to come from. And it's like they were a step ahead of him all day.
It's like they loop that guy out there, and Mahomes' brain is like, he kind of knows where everybody should be, and he's not accompanying for a guy who's just randomly looping around the edge like this, and all of a sudden he's right in his face. It's tough it's been tough for him to deal with in his career.
Yeah, and I mean it's so hard to see a guy as good as Mahomes have a day like that when he's struggling, and really it's kind of a stretch that's been going for a while that he's just not putting up the kind of numbers that we're used to, but keeps checking off wins. On the bright side in all of this, I know that people are, gosh, it's been a wild 4 weeks. Right? I mean, we're down our top 2 receivers. We're down our top running back. Suddenly, Kareem Hunt's back on the team. We're hardly winning these games, but we're still undefeated. All this turmoil that's going on. Here's the bright side. Maybe, just maybe, because of what they're forced to navigate, could Andy Reid get some votes for Coach of the Year this time? Hey, maybe like 1 vote for the first time in the last 12 years or something. I got that stat that you dug up, like literally hasn't gotten a vote for Coach of the Year since like his first year in Kansas City or something. I don't know.
Oh, really? Well, he was dead last in terms of odds for Coach of the Year this year. I did put some money down on it just because what the hell? Because it might reach a point where they're like, he gets to the end of the year and there's no like obvious candidate, and they're like, well, Andy Reid's never won one before. Why don't we give one to Andy Reid? I think that's very much on the table. I guarantee he's not last in odds right now. Say that.
Yeah, I just started thinking, depending on how these injuries shake out and where the record falls at the end of the day, like maybe, I mean, it's Coach of the Year type stuff, man. And they've got
excited, man.
That it's like a narrative that can happen. It's, these are narrative awards, and God, I mean, look at all the weapons that the Chiefs lost, and they still did this, and this. Like I can definitely see that as a possibility for old Andy Reid and the Chiefs this year.
I mean, you can be excited now. I'm gonna be sitting down with the celebrities, with the WNBA players next year for this game if I win that bet.
Dirk's gonna be sitting down there with Paige
Beckers.
Beckers. All right, folks. I'm Ryan Scott Hall. He's his Dirkness, and this has been another episode of Amateur.
Chiefs!